Hey everyone, how's it going? It's a nice 30-degree day out. Not the greatest, but trying this outside kind of thing. And what was coming up in my mind last night, I was going to bed, was how much of a relief it is to be single as a guy in your 20s. I'm 23 years old. I've only really had one girlfriend. That was in high school when I was 17, and that lasted about 7 months. I had another one for about 3 months a couple years ago. But basically, my entire life I've been single by myself. I've had friends and family, of course, I've been close with, so it's not like I've been a loner, that's for sure. But the freedom of being single is definitely underrated in today's world, especially with young guys. Teenage years and early 20s, you really think that you have to be out there with women in game, and there's a lot of content based around that everywhere. And I'm totally like in the opposite at this point. I mean, trust me, I was watching those videos back in the day when I was younger. But as time goes on, women interest me less when it comes to just the way I want to live my life. I mean, maybe when I get like 28 or 30, I'm going to want to have a woman in my life, have a family, and things like that. But when you live in your hometown and you're trying to do your own, I think it kind of holds you back. At least that's how I felt when I was in my little relationships for however long. I always felt like I was giving up my identity to a certain extent. Like, instead of me doing a video like this, I would be texting them or trying to figure out a way to have a date that didn't really have any significance to me because we never really, I don't know, connected on that level. And that's probably just something that I was missing out of those two relationships, and it shouldn't be said for everyone. But at least for me, I mean, being okay by yourself is one of the strongest things that you have, because what's guaranteed in this world is that you have yourself until you die. So even your parents, your kids, your spouse, they can all leave you or die before you. So having that strength to be alone and to be able to make friends, is really valuable. Something that I've definitely worked on, and I'm fully at peace with being single, at least for now. I don't really have any plans, and every time I've gone out on a date, it was of course exciting at the moment, but every single time it's been good that nothing's ever come of it, because I was able to work on more of my things, my projects, my ideas, or actually go to work and make some money, not have to spend money on women is also really nice. There's a lot of judgment around, girls and guys when it comes to what car you drive, what you buy them. There's always an expectation for Valentine's Day, for birthdays, flowers, Christmas, all this. And yeah, I'm a giving person, but I don't like having expectations like that. And you have to know that if I buy you flowers, that's going against my goals to be saving up. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of maturity that comes with relationships, of course, and I find that a lot of people don't really resonate with what I think a relationship should be like, and that is building up each other in every regard possible. So that, to me, feels like I don't have to be giving so much to this person in a financial way if I can be giving to them in an emotional way or an intellectual way, or just building up something else together. But I don't know, I just haven't found that to be very successful, and that's okay. Again, like, I'm able to live my life at my standard, and no one has to be judging me for it. Don't have to be doing stuff for other people like that. And I really think this only comes with so much failure in the regard, in being okay with that. You know, if I were to have, had a kid, I would have taken that responsibility, of course. If I were to have, gotten married already, I would have taken that responsibility. But my gosh, is it a lot easier to just have responsibility over yourself, isn't that right? I mean, I know a lot of people that are single or have new girlfriends that have knocked up someone else, and it's just not ideal for that kid. So why would you risk that? Why would you go into a relationship when you're not fully ready to have a house or a family, an apartment, things like that? When you're not ready for it, why would you have it be a possibility? So I definitely don't understand why more people don't think the way I do. Most of the guy friends I know are able to, get girlfriends over time, and then it's not even like very significant to them. Like it's a lot of just going out on miscellaneous dates, but there's no like deeper message. And then once they have a kid, then they either get married or they don't, and it's very sad, when you see a young, ambitious guy and then they just knock up some chick and then all their ambitions and dreams go to die. Because that's what happens to a lot of single guys is when you get a woman, all your dreams die. And, I've seen that from my dad a little bit on his marriage with my mother. Like at the end of that marriage, he gave everything up on his end. Of course, my mom did too in regards, but for her. And it's like, well, that relationship isn't here anymore. So, I mean, what would have been better? I think you always had to look up for yourself. And, many women would say that's a lack of immaturity, or that's a lack of a man being a man and giving everything to the woman. But I think it's actually the complete opposite. I think it's pretty alpha of the guy to, be so solid in who he is that he doesn't give up and sacrifice himself as much to the woman, because in that case you're just lying to yourself. And once you find a woman that actually is okay with your level of understanding, you're going to completely be in a better spot than if you were to be sacrificing yourself for 30, 40, 50 years. And there's always a level of compromise, of course, but sacrificing your dreams is just something that I think no guy should have to go through, and the pain of that and regret is just unbearable. I can only imagine. I've never been in that boat myself, but again, seeing my dad, the closest person who I am with, I don't know. Even though I was a kid seeing that, I understand how tragic it can be, and I really hope I never have that happen to myself. And again, sacrificing your dreams is just so wrong, especially for another person that doesn't appreciate that or that isn't there. Sacrificing your dreams for a kid is a different story, because that kid is never going to leave you. Even if they do physically, you're always their parent. And I think the way that we look at marriages nowadays isn't permanency, and I disagree. I think if, I were to marry my wife and she were to kill someone, that would still be my wife in jail forever. Hard to say exactly how I would navigate that situation, but I mean, that's a terrible situation, right? Is if your partner is a different person than you realize, but that's still your partner. That's still who you had a kid with, or two, or three. And in what God believes about and what He teaches about what marriage is, as far as I know, is that you're with that person forever. And that's basically what sex is marriage. And having a kid is that bond, becoming that one flesh. So, I mean, it's just a completely different look nowadays of what people think relationships are. And I know my opinions are a lot different than probably what you think, and that's okay. I just would suggest that maybe thinking more the way that I do will alleviate a lot of pain and suffering. You may get lucky and get through pretty well if you sacrifice everything as a guy. And I think there's a nobility to that, again, for a child, but not for a woman that's going to leave you anyway, because she always wants to change who you are. And that's kind of the end result of this whole thing, is that you stay pretty solid of what your core beliefs are, and people do change to certain extents, but having someone else constantly try and change who you are versus you changing yourself for yourself, completely different. So yeah, I'm freezing off a little bit. So hopefully, you got something out of this, and I just wanted to share something that was on my mind. And that's, something I don't really hear many people talk about in such an extreme way at my age. So it's something I've, come to accept myself, is that being single is so much better. especially when you're not sacrificing yourself. All right, well, follow and subscribe, like for more about men's content, and just trying to get us to the next day. All right, see you guys.